Welcome to Women in Logistics. I think this may be the third in this series. Um, second one. Okay, a second one in this series of logistics. To try to give you just a little background about me. Um, no, I've a little echo. A little background about me. I've been in the logistics business for 23 years. I started here at Bennett as a junior staff accountant, and I've just been able to kind of move up throughout the rank. And somebody is saying that they can't hear me. Right. So that Ariel has been working on discussing women in logistics. And again, a little background about me. I started here at Bennett back in 1997. And I've been here now, again, that's one of my older slides. I've actually been here for 23 years. My 24 years, actually, my anniversary was March 10th. So I've been here at Bennett for 24 years. I started off here as a junior staff accountant, and I've just been been able to move my way up from there. So now I'm currently the vice president of finance. I've seen this company grow from barely 100 million to now this year we will probably top between 650 and 700 million dollars. So I've seen a lot of things change, a lot of things in the industry change, and so this is a great industry to be in. It's just you just need to make sure you understand all of the dynamics around it. Currently, there was a time where you would have warehouses just kind of sporadically, spaced around the United States. And if you had, any type of merchandise or manufacturing, those things would be put in those warehouses, and you would have truck drivers that would get on the road and go to somewhere in Montana, pick this product up, and then they could take their time and come back here. That is not the day and the age that we're in. We're in the day and age where everybody wants everything yesterday. So that's why you're seeing more of these transportation and warehousing hubs pop up everywhere, because people need to be able to get their product, and they need to be able to get it quickly. Is going to continue to be very relevant in this area, primarily because of, again, the Savannah River, the Savannah Port. They right now are looking to finish dredging out, and dredging is just meaning get some more dirt off the bottom of the Savannah River. They're looking to have that dredged out by January 22nd, which means that those large containers can now hold another full ton of commercial product that's coming in from all around the world. So again, that's going to be done by the 22nd, and there's no more space in Savannah. All the warehouses down there are filled, there's just no more space. So it's going to have to get off of those container ships, and it's going to have to go somewhere. So again, Henry County, I know the word inland port is a bad name, and people, kind of hide from it. The Savannah port, that you can kind of get it away from that area, but we're right here that if it needs to go to Alabama, if it needs to go to South Carolina, we're right there at that diverging pivot point. So this is a great area to be in. So what I'm going to do today, as far as those that are interested in transportation, well, logistics altogether, whether it's the trucking part, whether it's the warehousing, whether it's the brokerage, what I'm going to do is talk more from a higher view of giving some points of what I think you can do if you're interested in getting into this business and being successful. So I'll start first. There's a couple of certifications that I feel like people that are women in the logistics business really need to have. First is the woman-owned small business certification. That's through the SBA. There's a lot of set asides for women-owned business, but even though just because you are a woman, there's still parameters that you have to have, and still have to have certifications to show that you are truly a woman-owned business, and you don't have a gentleman behind the scenes really running everything. You need to be able to show that you are truly the owner of this business. So the woman-owned small business certification. The other one that we found here at Bennett that we've been very successful with is called WBENC, WBENC, and that stands for Women's Business Enterprise National Council. So you need to really work on getting your WBENC certification. If you get that WBENC certification, that's just like a national hub of just, okay, these are, so if I'm Coca-Cola and I need to, use a woman-owned business for 20%, then I go to that Women Business National Council and say, okay, put this out here for bid, because we need to make sure that we're using women-owned businesses for these particular set-asides. So you actually will have that kind of a network. And again, that's a certification that has to be renewed annually. They ask for your financial statements. They ask for different things. But when you get that certification, those will be very two great certifications that will help you for any woman-owned business set-asides. Okay, and it's WBENC. It's WBENC, and that stands for Women's Business Enterprise National Council. Yes, WBENC. Yes. So if you go online and just Google WBENC, you'll see, there's a location down here in the city of Atlanta. So yeah, definitely try to get those two certifications. If you're interested in doing the warehouse piece, the other certification that I would suggest is a hub zone certification. Now, this is a little harder to get, but the amount of business that they're throwing at hub zones is ridiculous. But again, it's not an easy thing to get. Basically, what a hub zone is, it says, okay, and there's a lot of areas, even right here in Henry County and in the Griffin area. You go and you say, okay, I want to open up my business here in this particular city. You open up your business, and you also have to make sure at least 35% of the employees that are working for you. It doesn't, and again, truck drivers, most of the truck drivers are probably gonna be owner operators, but just, anybody that's working in the office or yourself, at least 35% of the people needs to live in that area too. Your warehouse doesn't have to be in that area if you're looking to do warehousing, but if you actually go and set up an actual business in a hub zone, then again, the government throws businesses at, especially women-owned businesses that are in hub zones. Then again, that's giving you that little push so you can start getting you some contracts. So again, the three certifications: women-owned small business, WBENC, and hub zone. Those three certifications will start trying to get you in the door of getting some of those women-owned set-asides. So again, that's basically whether you're trying to go in any of these areas, again, whether it's warehousing, trucking, or brokerage. Any of those three will, those certifications will work with any of these kind of logistical type of industries. If you're looking to get in the trucking industry, I'm going to now start kind of giving you some things that I've seen over these 24 years of how Bennett has been successful. One of the things is diversifying your product that you're moving. And even if if you're going to deal with van freight, again, start trying to make sure that whatever you're moving, it is, okay, you may want to do what I call your commercial durable goods, your toilet tissue, whatever, but then come up with another product line that will kind of offset that. Again, the reason Bennett has been so successful is because we have diversified our lines. So when Bennett first got started, one of our main lines of business was the agriculture business, John Deere. John Deere was one of our biggest customers, and still is one of our biggest customers. But again, the ag business slowed down at a certain point. So guess what? We also have a heavy haul division that does a lot of infrastructure, road projects, deliver some of the heavy products for bridge work. Because a lot of time when the economy is down, one of the first things the government say, okay, let's invest in the infrastructure. So again, if nobody's, purchasing items over here, then, can't go out and buy a $20,000 tractor right now. Okay, then we now have this other lane of business that we also are doing that, again, we can work on with the infrastructure. So again, try to make sure you're not doing just all food or all this, or, even if you're doing, your produce. I mean, if you're decide you want to go in a refrigerated business, again, find different cold storage warehouses to do it. Don't just put all your eggs in one basket is what I'm saying. Again, you just need to always make sure that you diversify your whatever product that you're doing. And along with that diversification, you need to also understand the difference between signing a contract with somebody and doing what I call spot quotes. When if once you start getting into these businesses, and let's just say there's a cold storage right around the corner. Let's just say we're doing, you decide to be, get your refrigerated trailer and you want to move cold items. So you get in, you're able to get your foot in the door, you go there and you sign a contract with Americold, one of the cold storage places, and you're working that business, you're doing well. When you go to your next cold storage place, don't go in there wanting to sign a contract. Just say that you would like to be a carrier, and then therefore you can just do spot quotes. And the difference between is like, you may always think, okay, it's always good to have a contract. Yeah, you're right. It's always good to have a contract. But just let's reverse back this time last year during the pandemic. If I had a contract with, again, Americold for $1.75 a mile, then that's what I have to move all that product for. But if I just had a relationship with them and I was going to do spot quotes last year when they really needed that produce and that frozen stuff moved, I'm now not obligated to that $1.75. I now have negotiating power. So now I can sit here and say, I can move it for you, but I also got these other 10 companies that really need me to move their freight for them as well. So I can't do the 175, but I can do 215. So again, a lot of times people want to jump in and just start signing contracts left and right. It's good to have a contract because you have at least that line of that book of business. But always make sure you're in a position to, kind of be able to use your leverage. Because again, right now, the transportation industry, especially the trucking side, is not an area that a lot of people are wanting to get in. So you'll hear over and over and over again, capacity, capacity, capacity. These young kids are not trying to get on a truck. Even here at Bennett, our average truck driver age is 67. Because again, this is not an industry that a lot of people want to get into. So capacity is good. And what capacity does, though, it gives you, again, some negotiating power. If you need your product moved and there's not a lot of trucks out there and there's not a lot of people getting into this industry, that's giving you some leverage power. So you need to make sure that, again, you kind of not only have flexibility and diversification along your product line, but the way you're doing business as well. Spot quotes versus contract. So now let me kind of talk about what I just kind of gleamed on as far as capacity is concerned. Once you decide you want to open up your transportation, being a trucking business, again, like I said, there's not a lot of people in this business. So when you actually start trying to recruit drivers, I really hate it when I just see people start listing, ads everywhere and, come drive for me. And that's good, but you got to make sure that you have truly vetted those drivers out. There's not a person on this webinar that haven't heard the 50 million commercials about sue the big bag trucking companies. So if you get so desperate sometimes of I need somebody in a putting, as they call, putting a butt in a seat. If that's your only goal, you're going to have some major issues because it's going to take one major claim where you just put somebody in that seat and they have a bad accident and your name is on the side of that truck, and that's going to be the demise. I cannot tell you how many companies we have been able to purchase because their claim, I mean, it's not that they didn't have good contracts. It's not that they didn't have good people. It's just that once you have one too many claims like that, the insurance company is like, I'm done. And you could easily find yourself, once you get to a certain level, paying $4 to $5 million, because not only are you going to now have to get your basics of the $1 million coverage, now you're going to have excess, the 5, the 10 million. You're going to now have to start layering on your insurance. But let me kind of back up and kind of give like a kind of, again, when I talked about diversification for Bennett, let me kind of tell you, Bennett is, right now I close 26 sets of books each month. That's how many different lines of business that we have. And what our secret sauce was, is we started off in the trucking, we started off with the diversification, but then we got into, okay, we keep outsourcing this, maybe we need to get into that area. So again, we started off with our general freight business, which is, again, we don't do the van, well, we do vans in one aspect, but we started off doing nothing but the flat deck and those in the heavy haul. So again, we are the ones where you see the big pieces of equipment with, escorts in the front and the back, and then a lot of the, like sort of flat deck stuff. So that is one aspect of our business. Then we got into moving manufactured housing. So we actually, we're one of the largest manufactured housing carriers in the United States. So, and then we went from manufactured housing to movable RVs, the towable RVs. And then we went from towable RVs to actual moving the Winnebagos. So we actually have a company called Bennett Truck Transport that does our manufactured housing. And then we have a company called Drive Away that literally anything that you can get in it and just drive it away, that's that segment of business. So we have a lot of contracts with companies like Bluebird, the school buses. So we have a lot of retired people that they get paid to basically just drive around the country. Because again, what they'll do is they'll get a little pilot car, hook it to the back of the brand new Winnebago or bus, drive it to the lot, get in their car, go to the next destination. So that's our drive away division. We also have a hazmat division that moves a lot of ammunition. And that's also our area of business that we actually move rockets. A lot of the rockets you've seen, the ULA rockets that's going up, Bennett moved all those rockets. So a lot of our government type stuff goes through there. So we have a lot of team drivers in that area because again, once that stuff gets on the road, they're not allowed to stop. So basically they have team drivers. So when this one gets, has maxed out his hours, then the other one, slips into that seat and keeps that product moving. Because again, you can't have a rocket sitting beside the road. So again, we do have a lot of team drivers in that area. We also have in the Augusta area, a warehousing business. We started off with, again, John Deere. A lot of people don't realize, you probably heard of the term 3PL, and that's just stands for third party logistics. There's a lot of companies that all they want to do is manufacture or do whatever their core business is. John Deere just wants to make John Deere tractors. They don't want to worry about the inventory coming in. They don't want to worry about the inventory going out. They just want to, be able to make their odd item, put their stickers on the side and let somebody else figure out the rest of it. So that's one of our big contracts is, again, we have the John Deere contract in the Augusta, Georgia area. So again, we have over 1 million square foot facility that we own that we keep all of the products in there. And then John Deere they actually have their employees in there that actually assembles it. Once it's finished, then we take it to the next warehouse because we have several warehouses in the Augusta area. The 1 million square foot one is the one that we own, but then we are lease quite a few other spaces. And again, like I said, and then when it gets ready to go to its final destination, whether it's to a lot, to wherever, then we move that product there. So Bennett does a lot of the 3PL type business. So again, that's Bennett Distribution Services. And anybody that is interested in going into the warehousing area, I will caution you that it is a very high-tech technology business. So you got to make sure you have the capital, the financial capital to really, stand, be able to make take care of that. Because, the days of just doing your standard barcoding, which was a, kind of a cheaper technology. No, these people now are using drones to scan and know where things are located in the warehouse. So you got to be able to make sure that you have the financial capacity, if you're interested in that warehousing space, to make sure that technology, because that is a very heavily technology business. If people want to know, if somebody want to call you and say how many widgets and gadgets I have of this time, you need to be able to let them, you inventory wise, you got to let them know ASAP. But let me get back on the other areas of business that Bennett has. We also found ourselves that when we got to start doing some of these larger projects like windmills, we tow a lot of windmills to the Midwest, and where they're setting up all these big windmill farms. And then we was having to outsource our crane and rigging to set these windmills up. After we were doing this so much and we started realizing how much money we were actually outsourcing this, then Marcy decided to start her crane and rigging business. So out in Longview, Texas, we do a lot of crane and rigging, especially out in the oil field areas. We do a lot. That's one of our other businesses that we started. So again, then we have some other branches, and we just recently purchased a company called American Eagle Logistics, which is also in the oil industry. So a lot going on. We actually are also self-insured, so we have an insurance captive, again to kind of help curtail some of these insurance costs. So we actually have an insurance captive that we have to run all of our information through. So again, it's a very hard insurance. The trucking industry is so insurance, like I said, we're always known as the big bad trucking companies. So with that being in place, we just saw our insurance costs rise. So we knew it would be a difficult process, and it took us about 3 years to get our self-insured. But yes, we actually have an insurance captive. So we're basically self-insured on the transportation side. So I think that's kind of the basics of what Bennett does. I'm trying to think of some other things that I want to get more along the international side. So we actually have an international division here. We do, I forgot that we do international as well. We do have agents all around the world. Right now we're dealing with a lot of backlog because when everything shut down and they started in, of course, all this started in China, and that's where a lot of our imports come from, and everything just totally shut down. So now there's like backlogs, like almost a year worth of backlogs trying to come into the California ports. So it's like all of the ports right now are really struggling to try to play catch up. So it is a good area to get in, and I do know from the trucking side, simply because my husband was interested in starting his trucking business. So on the trucking side, I'm very familiar. And he also had a brokerage arm as well. So those two areas, I can give you some of the kind of the detailed information for, but some of the culture of the boys club within the industry. Yes, but it is really starting to change. There are now organizations called Women in Trucking that are really combating this. And again, because we are in such a capacity stricken environment right now, you have truck stops that are bending over backwards to make sure that everything that needs to be in place is in place to get women drivers. And there is even an initiative that's coming out of the Biden administration that they're going to be investing a lot of money into getting women in the trucking industry. I think even in FMCSA, which is the governing body over transportation logistics, they're actually going to be starting in a total organization underneath the FMCSA that is going to be purely on trying to get women into this industry. So yeah, in the beginning, again, not to diverse too much, but anybody that may know the story of Marcy Taylor is, she started this company 46 years ago, and with her then husband, JD Garrison. And about a year or two after they started Bennett Motor Express, he got cancer and passed away. And, and everybody told her that, a transportation company, woman-owned transportation company would never survive. And again, now we're looking, $650 million and 47 years later, we're still here and thriving, very much so. So in the beginning, yeah, there were a lot of challenges that, she had. She even had to deal with a lot of companies. I mean, a lot of the lanes that she was running, she had to run lanes because banks would not extend her credit anymore that were doing, cash on delivery. So I think there was like a candy account that was in Augusta that she always laughed about, that she used to have that. So she used to be able to do that in order to make sure she could cover payroll. Let me see. House, and I have a contract with the company to house or use my warehouse as a pass through. Do I have to find the truck drivers, or is it up to that company to find a truck driver? If you have it's according to whatever you all lay out. Like I was saying before, there's a lot of companies that they make they don't want to deal with anything other than just getting their product. So they want you to be able to handle any forklift drivers that are in there to move that product around, and make sure that you have the truck driver to move whatever product. But again, it's whatever you all decide up front. It may be that they have the trucks, they have the capacity, they just need space, because right now space it's hard to find warehouse space, decent warehouse space. And also with warehousing, please keep in mind that storage is one of the least things that you're going to make as far as money wise. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you get a customer and the only thing they want to do is get product and sit it in your warehouse, you're not going to make a whole lot of money, because you're going to charge them by the square foot, and that product just going to sit there. And the way you make money in warehousing is what they call handling, moving that product, doing the inventory on that product. That is where you make your money. So again, just kind of keep that in mind. If you have warehouse space, and the only thing that if somebody just wants to use your space simply for storage, you're really probably not going to make as much money as you would to say, okay, if it's a company that has high turnover, so they got product coming in, product coming out, that's handling. That's where you make your money. If you look at our P&L for that particular company, again, storage, you would think storage would be top. It's not. It's that handling, the handling fees that you're charging these guys to move this product around that warehouse, to do inventory on that warehouse. That's where you make your money in warehousing. Process, because the federal government wants to make sure that if they're allowing you to be self-insured, that you are totally financially stable. So you have to show where you have over $1 million of just tangible net worth just sitting on the shelf, basically, before they will even consider it. So we had to kind of go through that process. But right now we're only insuring our driver, and we do have some other components that run through there. If the owner operator is signed with us, we may cover them what they want, like physical damage insurance or something. Instead of going to an outside source, we'll insure those kind of things. But basically, it's just owner operators with us and our particular companies. Oh, I'm starting to get a lot of questions. Okay. The warehousing is a direct correlation to the deepening of the ports in Savannah. Okay. What is the responsibility of a dispatcher, and what other positions would you suggest? Also, what is the best way to enter the trucking business? The responsibility of the dispatcher is, once you actually work on getting you a line of business, again, by signing on to all those certifications that I told you about before, that will be a good way to actually start getting your foot in the door, to start getting some contracts. When you start doing getting your contracts, then you're going to need to start building that network of drivers. Either you're going to be in a position to actually purchase some trucks, and you're going to actually have a company driver, or you're going to have to lease owner operator. And owner operator means that he owns his own truck, he has his own trailer. You're just sitting here and telling him, okay, I'll give you a percentage of the load. A company driver, of course, he's just going to be a salary driver to move wherever. So again, those are the two type of so that dispatcher, you was asking what would be the role of the dispatcher. This dispatcher is one that's going to be communicating with those guys. They're going to be like, okay, where are you now? Oh, he's going to say, I'm down in Savannah. Okay, well, when you drop that load, we have another one sitting over here that you need to go over to South Carolina and take that to DC, So that dispatcher is the one. And a dispatcher is very important, because he or she is that liaison with that driver. And if that dispatcher keeps that driver happy and keep him on some good loads, then the turnover rate in trucking companies right now, again, because of capacity, is 100%, which means so it may not be everybody's leaving, but what I'm saying is, if you hire 10 people, we're probably gonna have 10 people that are gonna leave this year too. That's the 100% what I mean. So truck drivers know, just kind of like the RNs were a couple of years ago. These trucking companies are giving very large bonuses to get these drivers on and getting them. And once they get them on, they want them to stay. They don't want, the training aspect and all that. Once they get these drivers on, they want them to stay. So again, that dispatcher, once that dispatcher gets a good relationship with these owner operators and these company drivers, that's a very important person on your team. Okay. So I worked in logistics and supply chain for over 10 years. I would like to consult with small to medium businesses who are making the transition to utilizing 3PLs and using their own warehousing space. How would you suggest starting my client base? I would actually start looking at a lot of these. I mean, right now you got a lot of people that are very much into an entrepreneurial role. So a great organization just like this, start finding out some people that are starting to make some product and start saying, okay, let me handle your product. You just work on making whatever it is that you're making. Let me handle the distribution part of it. I'll do the inventory. I'll take care of it. Once you finish your product, then I'll make sure it gets to its final destination. But start getting to organizations like this, that you can start doing these networking and start trying to, all these people with these entrepreneurial minds, through all this, pandemic, and people have really started trying to make different things. You start getting into some organizations and start doing some networking and start getting with some companies that are starting to just start building their brand, and you be that liaison, you be that 3PL person. Trying to see, did I get all the questions? I will also say, when you are interested in getting into this business, whether it's the trucking side or the brokerage side, please make sure you have at least 60 days of money to sustain you. And the reason I say that, especially on the brokerage side, when you start getting that freight and you got to start listing it on different boards so people can start moving those loads. When you start putting your things on what they call DAT boards, DAT boards, those are nothing more than just live streaming loads that are available. So a guy will go in and say, I'm up here in DC and I'm trying to get to California. Let me go and see what loads are out there that's going there. So he'll go in and put up that information. Well, if I'm Ponders Trucking and I've gone out there and I've posted a load, it'll say Ponders Trucking is the one that has posted this load and their credit score is whatever. And so I said, make sure you got 60 days of cash flow to sustain you, is because if you're doing business with a company that went belly up, they, for whatever reason, they don't think you've given them the proper paperwork. And so they're not paying you until they get this, and this, and they're playing games with your money. You still got to pay that driver. That driver still has to get paid. It's not his fault that you haven't gotten paid. And most trucking invoices are termed 30 days. So you got to have at least 30 days before you're going to get your money. But this driver is not necessarily waiting on, this truck driver can't necessarily wait 30 days for his money. He's got to keep moving. He's got to get his fuel and move on to the next load. So if you put yourself in a position that you find yourself very cash flow negative, what you'll find yourself doing sometimes is start working with factoring companies. And what a factoring company is, and says, okay, I see you got $10,000 worth of invoices over here. If you send those invoices to me, I'll pay you cash for them, but I'm only giving you $8,000. So now you're already cutting yourself. So just make sure you start putting yourself in a position to really have enough cash flow again for all of that, for at least, like I said, at least 60 days, so that you can continue to make sure that you're doing what you need to do for the sake of the drivers. And also, if you do start getting some contracts and you want to not necessarily have to deal or have that much cash flow up, you can actually become an agent at a company. And again, this is not a boast for Bennett, but you can actually become an agent for Bennett. And basically you come to Bennett, you meet with the sales team and say, listen, I got this business out here and I would like to be an agent. And you don't even have to be an exclusive agent. If you're an exclusive agent, then you get more, you get a better percentage. But again, there are trucking companies, there's your JB Hunts, your Landstar's. There are trucking companies all around the world that you can easily become an agent with them. So that way you can start using their truck and their capacity. So if you don't have trucks, you don't have, but you got this book of business and you don't want to sit here and try to broker everything, then become an agent. Then become an agent. And then that way you can use almost like you're using their cash flow. I mean, because basically the accounts receivable is now on them, because again, everything will flow through Bennett. So, or through a Landstar, or through a JB Hunt, or whatever. So you may not make as much money, but you're now starting to kind of get that thing going where you can kind of understand, and build your cash flow because your overhead is less. Because again, all the insurance, all that stuff is going to fall on the company that you're signed to. So there's another way that you can kind of cut some of your expenses out and kind of put your foot in the water. So again, because you're still your own company, I can be Punders, trucking, and be leased on, be an agent for Bennett. So my sign out there on front, it will be, Punders Trucking, agent for Bennett. So you have, both names. So you can still keep your own identity while you're trying to build your brand, but you can kind of take some of that insurance, those kind of things. There was, waiting on me to get paid. No, when I booked that load and the load got billed, I got my 8% or whatever the percentage you negotiate. Okay. For the TWIC cards, if you're looking to do business anywhere near a port, which they're going to require a TWIC card, and those again have to be renewed yearly. Bennett right now doesn't have like a training program. Let's see what other thing. And as far as the technology for the warehousing, like I said before, one of the reasons why here in Henry County there is so many older warehouses just sitting around is because they do not have the proper infrastructure to have any type of the proper internet services and the technology that you'll need. The amount of money that they would have to spend in some of these older warehouses around here to put in all of the cables and internet services, you might as well have already built an entirely new warehouse. So that is one reason why these warehouses around here in Henry County, some of the older ones, are just sitting, unless they're in a prime location like the old Toys R Us. They were able to revamp that one, and they're still doing a lot of construction work inside of it. But again, the barcoding systems that are in place today for these warehousing, they're so high tech. And like I said, and even the drone technology, we use a lot of the drone technology in a lot of our warehouse to be able to, that barcoding, when it comes in, again, we have drones that literally just fly over the warehouse, and we can tell exactly where our items are, what's the capacity, and how much space that we have available. Because again, during some peak seasons, we're maxed out capacity in our warehouses. What else? Is brokerage the easiest way to enter the business if you want to eventually own your own trucks? I would say yes. I mean, I guess the first thing that you really want to do is in my opinion, if you can actually get you a good owner operator and a good company driver, that to me is the better way of getting into the business. Because when you are having to put your livelihood in the hands of a brokerage firm and you're just listing things on a brokerage board, it's going to take you about 3 or 4 times of letting a customer down and not getting that load covered. And now I'm not dealing with her anymore. I'm not dealing with Punders Trucking anymore, because I've given her an opportunity. I've given her a lot of loads. Because she does not have her own capacity, she is now just listed loads on a load board and was not able to get them covered. And a lot of times when you don't have that capacity, or if you don't have a relationship with it, but if you have, again, a relationship with some drivers, people that that drive trucks, that they have their own operator authority. Not that they're going to be trying to do what I call hot shots, which means they work for Bennett, but they're trying to do this on the side. That's not what I'm saying. But if they have their own authority and they can drive and they can move loads on their own, they're just not looking to lease on with anybody. If you have those kind of friends or relationship, sometimes not say friends, but relationship with people, then yeah, you can maybe use brokerage, because again, you have that relationship and you know, at least if I can't get anybody else, I can get this particular company to help cover that load. But again, at the end of the day, companies want their products moved in a timely manner, safe and timely manner. So if you, at least if you have a company driver, or at least if you have, again, an owner operator that's leased to you, then by doing that, you can actually get these products moved. At least, at least I know, again, owner operator, you have to be kind of careful on any kind of what they call forced dispatch. You can't say, you have to. You can tell him you have this load out there. But if a company driver, then you can actually tell that company driver what, which loads and what needs to be moved. So again, if you have the capacity to sign on an owner operator or a company driver, if you have the equipment, then to me, that's the easiest way. So you can start building that rapport. Because see, what will happen is if you start getting these loads moved, the more companies feel comfortable with you. And again, that's kind of how when I say we, my husband, he started, he was running refrigerator freight, and from the company right around the corner called Americold. And it was him, and he had 3 owner operators. So again, he knew he could get it moved. His owner operators were good. So again, we started getting so much business, they start giving us more and more, to the point where we couldn't cover it just with our capacity. So we then had to move on and start getting it on broker and putting it on load boards. So again, the more you actually start getting that comfort level with that customer, and they feel like they can trust you and they know that product's going to get there, then they'll start giving you more freight. Okay, what is the best way for someone to go about getting their foot in the door to see what area, lane of logistics appeals to them? And that's a good question. I know I probably have to look and see what different organizations are out there, that maybe you can do like some online training to kind of take a look and see what you're interested in. Again, your trucking companies, again, they can be a little with trucking, because you are, like I said before, because you actually have your own capacity. It's a little bit easier business to be in, other than just putting everything on a load board and waiting on a stranger to move your load. That can be a little stressful. Again, not to say it's not doable. People do it every day. We got an entire brokerage department that's all they do is broker freight. So again, it's doable, but again, you just kind of see where your stress threshold is. So yeah, and then like I said, the warehousing, you just got to make sure you have that financial capacity to handle the warehousing side of it. That right here in Henry County, the reason why we're getting so many warehouses being built here is because of our proximity to the Savannah port. Like I said, mentioned before, they're looking to have the final dredging of that done by January 22nd, which is going to be another ton of container equipment that's going to be coming in each one of those rigs that come into that port down there. So again, if they thought it was bad, now with the transportation, it's going to get even worse with the traffic here in the area. But again, Henry County is just kind of at that spot where you kind of get past the Macon area and you just get here. And then, like I said, with our proximity to 20 to 75 to 85, it's just kind of one of those areas that, just kind of that sweet spot. And unfortunate, like I said, I wish we would have they've been talking about dredging this port now, for easily 10 years. And I just wish we would have, transportation wise, planned for it then, other than trying to get on it on the backside. Okay, the financial capacity for warehousing, like I said, you would just have to, again, just find your space again, and it's wherever you are trying to find that space. Again, if this, let's just say, an area in here in the Henry County area or in the Augusta area are two totally different types of games. So if you're wherever you are, you're looking for warehousing that again has that technology piece to it, and you need to be able to be able to compete with those other, companies that are offering that technology service. So that's what I was saying. Like I said, the days of going around with a little scratch pad and doing the count, those days are over. So again, you just need to make sure when I say financial capacity, you do have the money to invest in some good technology in the warehousing business. Okay. Trying to think. Looking at my little notes here. I think I kind of went over quite a bit of my notes. Let's see. Do you provide a list of factoring companies? I don't have a list of factoring companies. Again, what I was saying before is, try to do whatever you need to do. Again, I know sometimes you have to use factoring companies, but you're giving away a lot of profit when you start using factoring companies. Again, I know you can get that cash, you scan them that invoice, show them that, show them that that been billed, but you're giving a lot of, I mean, because again, sometimes in the trucking industry, you can only, sometimes you're working on, anywhere from 6 to 7%, bottom lines, according to how much your fixed expenses are. So you just have to kind of be careful when you start using factoring companies. And, again, they're just using, again, like I said, you're getting that cash, but, they're taking quite a bit of your cash flow away from you as well. Right now, this company isn't doing any logistics training. But I've seen that question come up quite a bit, so I may need to put something together. um, so let's see. I think there's any more questions. Make sure I don't miss anything. Okay. I think we have all the questions. So we're right at an hour. It's been really nice, ladies. Again, any information or any further conversations or that you need to have with me, of course, Ariel has my information. So, I'm here to support.